you're speaking with your 18-year-old self again. What what advice would you give to your 18-year-old self?
I would probably try and explain the importance of living for the moment and trying to remind myself that I'm only 18 once and these experiences are very much only for that age group. So I would probably just say to myself that although you might feel unwell or feel embarrassed or anxious, try anytime there's a gap in that sort of feeling to live life a little bit more.
I would honestly say at that age, remember mates before dates. At that age, I went through quite a rough patch where I was very low mentally, and so I was always looking for someone who was going to show me a bit of love and a bit of TLC and give me something to feel passionate about. And at that age, when you're hormonal and going through all sorts, as well as dealing with a health condition, which other people obviously do deal with, but it doesn't feel like it at that age. You're just wanting to live more normal, which of course is life normal? Not really, no. People that help you out the most, family obviously play a big role, but it's majority of the time it's your mates that will be there through thick and thin for you and will do whatever for you. And friendship is, I'd probably say, one of the biggest part of life. Your friends will be there through thick and thin. Not everyone else will necessarily be like that.
What about the sort of positive changes in the time of you growing up and to the point we are now? What would you say you've noticed in terms of disability awareness and the way that the movement has changed over the years?
There's been massive progress in many changes in society. You know, and I live in London, so I've seen changes across the years. Things like public transport is more accessible than ever for wheelchair users. And there's been massive leaps and bounds when it's come to research of various health conditions. But there still is this stigma against those who have what I would call an invisible disability. Like
Mm.
myself, I have epilepsy and I'm also autistic, and there's this massive stigma of there's a flashing light, he's going to go down and have a seizure. No, that's not necessarily true, but
Yeah.
it's the way that media has put it. And so everyone sees that. They don't see the actual, shall we say, the truth of the condition.
I would say awareness of invisible disability is definitely something that really needs to change. And I think we need to be visible. What I've realized over time, I think, is it's about representation, isn't it? So, the fact that CBeebies now has somebody with a limb difference working as a presenter, and they also have a young guy with Down syndrome. These are all such brilliant changes and great movement changes, but I think it's about the awareness of the standard person who makes assumptions about stuff that aren't necessarily true. For example, me getting a hard time for having a blue badge when all I have is a walking stick, or you're too young to have a blue badge. There's all these sort of things that people have said to me, and I think you've just got no idea. Without fear or judgment, what would you want to say to your family and friends that you've not been able to say up until this point? Is there anything that you would want to say to them without, fear?
When I went away on holiday with, well, I wouldn't call it a holiday, it was a trip away, a weekend away um with college when I was studying engineering. The Friday night, I went out and got absolutely smashed out of my mind on alcohol. I drank way, way, way too much. I don't even know how the heck I even functioned on the Saturday. And apparently, I took the wheels off of the back wheels off the car, and I did a full check of the brakes. And it wasn't because I was young and I wanted to go partying or whatever. It was because I felt super suicidal. And I didn't realistically, I'd gone up because I needed to show that I had the practical experience, then pass my qualifications in the hope that my epilepsy was getting better, when actually deep down inside, I knew it was getting worse. And that was actually making me feel worse mentally. And so I was really thinking, do you know what? Maybe it's worth finishing it here, and then it will look like an accident in life. And so I'd probably confess to how suicidal I have been in life. It's been because of so many little things building up to make a bigger problem.
Hmm. Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
what about
Absolutely.
yourself, though?
I know what you mean. Really quite similar in that the honesty for me would come mostly from the place of almost almost shame. That I've got to that point as well. I felt like I would rather just not be here anymore to have to deal with all of the different small little incremental bits that get on top of you on a daily basis or a weekly basis. The struggle of trying to keep going and being positive about life and being thankful for things, and it sometimes just becomes tiring. It becomes so tiring that actually, in all honesty, yeah, I have on various times planned and tried to act out some form of, like, attempt on my life. And I can also say quite genuinely, I'm very glad at that point it didn't happen. And the negativity of mental health and the lack of understanding of it is that, you know, it could be your funniest, happiest, most outgoing friend who suffers from it. It could be the person who is on a good day the life and soul of a party, and on a bad day sitting in their room plotting the end of their life. It's from one extreme to the other, isn't it, when it comes to mental health and things.
I sadly saw that happen with somebody that I was quite close to. He was more like a brother, in fairness, and it was the same with somebody else who I met when I was in the Chalfont Centre for Epilepsy. Two people I came very close to. Both of them were in what you call video telemetry at the same time as me, and they were both like sisters. I still speak with one, but one of them who just lived on the opposite side of London. She was quite literally the life of the party. You go to a party, if she was there, it wasn't gonna be an okay or a fun pie. It was going to be amazing. And yeah, she didn't realistically open up until it was too late and she was ready to say goodbye to the world without even letting any of us know. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I fully understand where you're coming from.
Yeah. What would you sort of advise, or what tips would you give someone who's going through the sort of start of the diagnostic process of having their own kind of, you know, journey of illness?
Well, let's flip that to you first. What would your advice be for them?
For me, it would be that although doctors know a lot, they don't always know the answer to everything. I think it's quite easy to trust every single thing that a doctor might say, but they have only got the perspective from them being a doctor giving advice. And I think that sometimes getting advice from people who are going through it on a daily basis are the people who really could advise you on the practical side of things. So I would say, get yourself a decent core group of people who are going through the same thing. Ask as many questions as you can to them. Get the support that you need online for when the days are bad where you do really need the advice. And I would probably say, always make sure that you're writing down everything that you want to ask, everything that you want to bring to each specialist. Write it on a piece of paper, and then you don't walk out feeling like you've not said stuff that you want to say.
Yeah, I'd absolutely mirror that with my response. Like during the lockdown, I had to have my call with my neurologist by telephone, and excuse me, because of that, I completely missed out so many questions and so many things, and I really, really struggled. I cannot lie. The phone call was over in 5 minutes, and it was almost as if nothing had happened, which wasn't true. I'd been having more seizures, I'd been feeling even more drowsy, and so on and so forth. And so it felt like a waste. I would absolutely mirror that. I managed to get contact with an epilepsy support group who are based in West London. And it was through them that I then got contact with the gentleman who set up the Disabled People's Channel. And I've since then had support through the Disabled People's Channel and through that epilepsy support group to be able to get the practical day to day advice that has actually helped me even more so in life.
Mm,
I mean,
yeah.
jumping on from that, would you say you found a lot of support and things through the Disabled People's Channel?
Hmm. Yeah, I would say so. I feel like it's just another community of people who have very different experiences and different conditions, even a lot of us. But it's a very similar lens that we've all looked through. I think we've all felt like we're on the sort of the sidelines of society a little bit. I think we all have that feeling that we've all got a lot to give, but finding the right platform for us to be able to give that at this point is not the easiest. But I think we've all got something to say, and I think that's where all of us have come together. That um, being able to be in a group of people that understand half the struggles before you've even opened your mouth is a helpful thing to have. So yeah, I've really felt that support, definitely.